you for coming in this morning. I know now I'm really stressed because I'm holding everybody up before lunch. That's like a Friday 3 o'clock legal meeting. Who sets these things up? So I'm really excited to see so many people here this morning, especially because not many people usually want to come out and listen to a really super exciting story about a financial services company. But that's what they've asked me to share with you today. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes walking you guys through what we've just been through for the past 3 years now. I just realized 2 weeks ago that I just hit my 3-year anniversary at MassMutual. I joined in October of 2016, and they asked me to come in to relaunch the brand, which was this amazing, beautiful company that has been around for over 165 plus. We're much older than that, a couple years older than that right now. But they came in and they said, we really need to redo this brand, put it back into market, and find a way to make ourselves relevant with a lot of our customers back in the industry and really make a stand and let people really know what we've been doing for all of these years. They said the good news is we've done 18 months of research. We've got all this information for you in the background, and we think we have it all set together, but we don't really have any more agency of record. We separated ways with them. We have about a half of a team of people, but then you also have to manage refreshing the entire corporate entities around this, and you've got 6 months. So I had to be in market by the March, and then we finally convinced them that that would be May. So other than that, I was in great shape. And I had a logo and a color, no color palette. So 18 months of research that really said, yeah, this is it. We went through 3,000 logo designs. Everything that was relevant to the customer around what the company meant to them fits in these 5 blue dots in this font. So get going. And this is the company that I walked into. It's beautiful. It's got amazing stories behind it. And again, it had been around for a really long time with a tremendous amount of reputation. It was started in Springfield, Massachusetts in 1851 with the history around it and the lure, more importantly, changes. It was 7 men, it was 10 men. This picture looks like it's got about 15 in it. But the concept was that we were founded as a company to protect other people. They put a hat in the room and they all threw money in it, and they said, we are going to pool all of our resources together, and we are going to build a company that protects everybody, and we are going to be mutually owned, because everybody that comes in and buys a policy with us will be part owners with us. And that's really the key to this story today, because it's a little bit unique for us, but it has become a way for us to really differentiate. And in our hearts, we knew there was something there when we started this brand refresh strategy journey, but we really didn't know how to say it, because most people didn't really get the concept of what a mutually owned company was. So our challenge, again, also was that we had a lot of really awareness issues. I'm sure some of you may have those and some of you may not. Definitely for the size of the company and the history and the time that we've been around, you would think we would have stood out more. But we have a distribution network that was primarily advisor-based. And we were around 4,500 advisors at the time. And then in 2016, we expanded to 9,000 when we bought MetLife's proprietary field force. But if you didn't work with an advisor, you probably hadn't really heard much about us. And the brand was really to make sure that you just understood the brand from an awareness perspective. It was called like that air cover thing, if you guys are familiar with that in any of your distribution sales forces. And so we had a challenge there. Not many people really knew who we were. We also had an outdated brand identity with a very updated consumer base. So nobody was really getting the concept of all of the digital innovation and the new products innovation that we've been doing, because we hadn't really created a way to share that with people and to show them what we'd been doing. Increased competition, everybody knows this, especially across, yes, that's why we're here, digital channels. There's now a digital product. There's a lot of competitors out there reaching customers in ways that they want to engage with us, and we really hadn't kept up with that and certainly not shared that from our brand perspective. And we also are in a low engagement category. You don't wake up every day and check your balance on a whole life policy or your disability policy. We certainly have other retirement plans and financial planning products, but for the core of what we do, it's not like popping open your Bank of America account and making sure the bill cleared that morning. And financial services is a really very conservative industry. So how do we really go out and make a big splash and let people know all the good things that we're doing? So on the flip of that, there's our opportunity. So now we have this chance to redefine a brand and make it, and these are really words that our CEO uses often, relevant to all Americans, and that's everybody. Whole life insurance in some pockets of our category can be a little bit on the expensive side or can be perceived as only for a certain small group of people. And that's really not true in the product offering that we have and the opportunity that we think we could give to a lot of the potential customers across the country. So that was really important for us. Now we have to find a way to identify what the brand means and really activate it in a way that people will find interesting and engaging and relevant. creating some sense of brand affinity by connecting in an authentic way. I know this sounds like a lot of traditional marketing advertising talk, but hopefully as I go through this presentation, you'll see what I mean. It's not easy, and it is what consumers are really looking for today. And then we have this 12 billion customers that are underserved. They have no protection products in the United States. And we really need to find a way to reach those too, and they're across all economic spectrums. So here's our opportunity, which we were really excited about. And this is where we were going. So you can see our beautiful old logo there with the font and the very staunch financial services looking presentation around it. And then the visual imagery, this is what I inherited when I started. Very cool, hit all the brand attributes, hit what everybody was researching around. But how do we really build the story behind that right now? And refreshing a brand, and I really say it was refreshing. And we weren't rebranding the company because what we did is we went back to figure out what was core to building the brand identity in the first place. And that's based around understanding what your DNA is, understanding how your brand can have a purpose with your customers. And then before you go out there and redo it, make sure you have the story and the credibility behind it to back up what you're going to come up with. So we spent a lot of time, well, I say that like it was a lot of time, it really wasn't, but we went out in a very unconventional way. We really, what I like to say, speed dated through finding a new creative service agency. It's a model that I talk about a lot and I think was a great process. We didn't do the traditional long, extensive money pitches with agencies. We did a lot of the brief for them. And we really found ways to connect and find really smart, customer-focused agencies that would work with us. We have a primary agency of record and then a media agency of record, where they're places where we started. And then we sat down with them and spent 6 weeks to build the strategy. And we really went through the traditional steps of understanding where your customer is, understanding where your company is, where is culture, and where are your competitors. And we sort of crossed through all of that research and landed on a platform that we called Live Mutual. So going back to my earlier points, how did that really fit, or how did we think this was something that we could really run with? It's definitely in our DNA because we are a mutually owned company. So we think that the ability to protect people and always be there for them to guarantee, which is what some of our products do, that we will be there for them to protect the ones they love. This ability to rely on other people, like people can rely on us, and this concept of interdependence, whereas people are usually told to go out and be independent, we were finding that there really is this bigger platform to really enjoy and celebrate the idea of relying on other people and interdependence. And we got a lot of that through the research that we found in the marketplace. I mean, if you think about it, you don't make a decision with asking 6 or 7 of your closest friends. You get in a car with a perfect stranger because you read his license plate number. You don't pick out your groceries and your produce anymore. It delivers to you. So we were finding that all of this movement around us and what was really happening in today's market with customers and consumers was an ability where they wanted to take care of each other and rely on each other, because you just count on people around you every day, whether you realize it or not. So we started with that, flipping that on the head, and that's where we really came back with this idea around finding a way to work into our customers' lives by creating a rally call. It was sort of like Live Strong or Live Mutual. It wasn't just a tagline. It was a way to get people motivated around what we believed in and to try to believe in the principles that we did. And I think the other pieces of it was something we could certainly support, not just from the DNA, but from the heritage and all the work that we'd always done. It fit with what we did on a day-to-day basis. It gave us a chance to not just create an ad campaign. When you rebrand, you really have to be able to be out there and market for at least 18 to 24 months, I think the statistics show. And I think that was new from a mentality perspective at our company. They were like, okay, so what's the fall campaign? And then just put it into TV. And I said, this is a journey, and this is going to be a long time. And most importantly to me, I said, we have to introduce ourselves as who we are as a person and a company, and not what we do. Because most people today don't really want to hear about another product or another financial services company. But if you talk to them first about who you are as a brand, almost as if you were a person walking into a social event with friends, you have a better chance of connecting with people. And then they want to figure out moving into consideration and what do you do and learning more about you. So you'll see that's what some of the work that we did with this. And then we launched the message in a media strategy that I like to sort of call moment-led, very focused on where we were going to be that made sense for us to show up. So now we got to activating the brand. We relaunched the Mutual in a beautiful campaign that we put into market on schedule, on the deadline in May of 2017. And then we sat back and said, but how do we really put this into market and make it relevant for everybody? And we stepped back again to thinking about what was going on around us. And not that little really tactical focus group kind of research, but really stepping back and seeing what was important to people. Where do we, if you do it right with great advertising, break through, come out with something that creates a connection and really is a place where people will remember you. So we started to fast forward as we got into the year, into the summer months, and we looked at what had been happening. And for better or for worse, we launched the brand in a year that was really, really difficult for some in 2017. It was the first year of our current president, and there was a lot going on. And there was a lot going around us that people were feeling good about and a lot that people were feeling bad about. And we were hearing a lot about people going back to their communities and walking away from Washington and really trying to get away from the bad news. So we said, well, let's take a look at this and let's find a time of the year where we could show up with this message that's really great. And Thanksgiving and the holidays, and that's when people get together. That's where you're with the ones you love. That's where you can think about taking care of others, which is what we do and what all of our products do. So we started to focus on this time of the year where we thought that we could really put this message into market. And then we looked at what was going on and we said, this hasn't been a great year to a lot of people. So how do we find the good news in the year and re-inspire people and make them feel good about things and then remind them that they could be good and take care of other people just like we do? So we started to think about the end of the year and those 10 days, if you guys are familiar with this, or maybe I'm the only one that sits down with my family and does this, but between Christmas and New Year's, and you all sit down and you watch TV and all you hear about is the year in review. It's every celebrity that died. It's every celebrity that got married. It's every celebrity that got divorced. It's every natural disaster. It's not good news. It's not always good news. It's not inspiring, like can't wait for next year. So we said, well, why don't we take that, especially this year with our first new president, and we said, why don't we find those stories where there really were good things that happened around us? So we partnered with CNN, who does a lot of the documentary and CNN stories, a ton of news. We scanned all of the country, basically, for these amazing stories. And some of them we just remember seeing and popping up. They had to be stories that were newsworthy stories that hit in certain markets across the country. And they were stories about people that just took care of somebody else for no reason, because it was the right thing to do. So we focused on that, and we created a campaign called The Unsung. So we were using other people's stories to tell the story of what we believe in, because they were living Mutual. And they were doing all these wonderful things. And we thought it was a great time of the year to share all of their stories. So these were real people, real stories. And then we picked the moment. We picked New Year's Eve. And my team still could never forgive me for this because I think I spent every holiday with them that year. But we shot over Thanksgiving, we picked New Year's Eve, and we went to CNN and we took over CNN New Year's Eve live. It's the second most New Year's Eve watched show on TV. We took over the last hour, they blocked it for us. And then within the last 10 minutes before the ball dropped, we ran our TV spot. And then we brought in all of the people that we found in all these stories from around the country to New York, and then put them in a room and launched a live TV spot where we celebrated what they had done. So, logistical nightmare, crazy amount of work that we did, but a beautiful way to put a message in a market where it belongs that was breakthrough and relevant. And the numbers that came on the other side were amazing. So let me walk you through what we did with this. Oops, I did that wrong. Can you hit play on that? I don't know if I do that up here or, I know it's a digital summit. I'm the least technology person in the world. And it's, all right, I'm gonna stop touching. Do you want me to put it back to the side? Okay, it's the slide with the black screen. And then on there, it's, there you go. Just click that arrow on the bottom. So I do know what I'm doing.
MassMutual was founded on the principle of people protecting people. So when the headlines of 2017 shook our faith in humanity, we set out to remind America that people are still looking out for each other all around us. We traveled the country to uncover the uplifting stories that got lost in the noise and found unlikely heroes all around us. And when everyone else was reflecting on the agonizing year that was,
But 2017 has been kind of the worst. Ugh.
we reframed it with our own take on a year in review film. We partnered with CNN, a network deeply rooted in the narrative of 2017, and created documentaries that let people dive deeper into these inspiring acts of mutuality.
But I think the most important thing to do in life is always be there when somebody needs you.
With every view, click, and share, spirits were lifted, and soon it was clear how much people needed to hear this message. And in the final minutes of the year, with the nation watching, we honored our heroes with a surprise performance by the National Children's Chorus.
They have no idea what's happening.
Broadcast live as CNN's final commercial of the year.
Oh, why you look so sad? The tears are in your eyes. Come on and come to me now. When the night falls on you, you don't know what to do. Nothing you confess.
MassMutual had the last word on 2017 and helped restore hope as we headed into the new year.
I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you.
That's great work. Now you'll have that song in your head for the rest of the day. Hope it's worth your lunch. So it was amazing. Again, find a big way to put the message in the right place at the right time where you'll make a difference and bring the brand to life for people. And then you have to take it beyond that, because a lot of times people say, well, I don't have big media budgets. We don't either. But I don't have a lot of TV, and I don't do all these other things. So what we really did is we take everything that we do and we amplify it and we surround it. Make it work. Punch above your weight. It's what my media agency loves to say. But it doesn't have to be just a big tentpole moment. And that's where we really used all of these assets in a very hard way, surrounding it with digital, traditional print. Again, who reads print? A lot of people read print. You really need to get creative with your budgets and making sure that you're amplifying the story in a million different ways. Integrating digital, we built a landing page just around this campaign on massmutual.com. We had people watching these stories for over 4.5 minutes, each one, on massmutual.com, just absolutely captivated and learning more about it. And what they were learning about was the message that we believed as a company, not about a product, not about MassMutual with logos and sirens around it, but this relationship about where we found people that could tell our story in an authentic way to realize what we believed in as a company. And then we decided to keep up with all of the response and what was happening around it. And this is where we follow things, and our favorite moment is we say that it's gone viral, and everybody gets on their phones and we watch what people are saying about us. And again, this goes back to the research that people get really hung up on. We were watching everything. And so here we come into the middle of January, and all of a sudden comes this really big event called the Super Bowl. And everybody's looking at me with all of this feedback and the numbers that we're getting on this campaign, and they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, I'll get fired. There's just no way we're gonna run a Super Bowl spot. It's always considered financially irresponsible and all these other things. And I've got this, again, conservative financial services company that really hadn't ever been this big in TV with stuff, hence the awareness challenge. Then 10 days before the Super Bowl, I get on the phone, and I'm all fired up because there's the 9th company, and the big brands are all going into the Super Bowl with a cause, with a story around doing good for other people. And we have this message, and we're killing it. So we backed up. I said, let's do it. Call NBC, get on the phone. We figured this whole thing out. I did not obviously get fired. I'm still here, but it was a stressful long weekend. And we found a way to go into the Super Bowl, but I said, first of all, I have a 2-minute spot. Now, if you hear the stats on Super Bowl ads, you know they're 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and they're crazy money. So now I'm going to the 2-minute spot. And I said, where should we put this? Because everybody's going to be in this clutter, and I'm not going to go in the middle of the dilly-dilly and the Tide ads, because we'll get lost. It's just a waste. So we talked about it with NBC and the media team, and we said we belong in-game right before the national anthem, when every family is getting together, sitting down to watch it, right before they bring the veterans out, drop the American flag. That's where we belong. So I said, then let's go there. And granted, from a media tactic perspective, it was technically in NBC's broadcast, but not in game. So there was also a difference in the price there. So we took off with it. And then we went crazy viral. We were trending on Twitter 2 minutes before the game, third, above the Patriots and the Eagles. And if the Kardashian daughter had not named her daughter that day, we would have been second. True story. Not kidding about that. But I'm in this room with a bunch of people, all my friends watching this thing, Super Bowl, and I'm going nuts. I'm like, this is crazy. And the other thing that I love about this and using digital and what we did with the success here is that we had people commenting right out of the creative brief that I gave to the agencies. When we started, I said, I want people to think of MassMutual and see that work and say, I never would have seen that out of a financial services company. I never would have believed it. I mean, I've been in financial services for over 25 years, Fidelity, Putnam, bunch of big brands, and I just feel like we all come out the same. So I said, this has to be different. And that's what people were saying in these tweets. And my other favorite one was, I'm not crying at a MassMutual ad, you are? And that was a big thing too, and those just went all viral too. So it worked, and these are the traditional number slides and the metrics. But I think the biggest thing was we also picked up a huge amount in earned media, and Gayle King on CBS this morning did rate ours her favorite Super Bowl ad. So we really nailed it because we showed up with the right message in the right place at the right time. And I think that was really what was the momentum there. I think I wanted to put this in just to share on the other side of it is that it doesn't just have to be in TV or big linear digital moments. We do a lot, creative, scrappy ideas to build awareness in markets across the country or in partners or places where we know our fans are engaged and are passionate about. We went around the New York Marathon the first year we launched. We built a mobile app and we connected out-of-town runners with in-town visitors who were going to watch the race, a very live mutual moment. How do you have somebody that comes out and cheers you on and supports you? And it worked beautifully. We became a sponsor with Churchill Downs, who we cover their pension plan. So they were we have a customer relationship in some way with that. But we also found that there's a really big moment here. It was a white space in our category. It's a bucket list item for people. And the history and the heritage around Churchill is very similar to what we have as a company. And then obviously all the statistics and research, target audience, dead on, and all that other stuff. And then we really surrounded it and we used the media partnership to really amplify the reach in that. So we said to NBC, we want to take over Churchill Downs, but we want to take over where you guys do the most coverage, the paddocks and the bugler and Riders Up and all that. So just being really smart about where you place yourself so you get the digital and the other streaming opportunities out of it. And then last year we became an official sponsor with the NHL. Second time I almost thought I was going to get fired because everyone was like, why the hockey? But we spent over a year going through a lot of different partnerships, and this was a place to really take over and own the category. And there's a lot of overlap in our audience, but also in that fan base. And then we ran into the NHL as a sponsor, but what you can see Patrice Bergeron up there is because we then partnered with the Players Tribune to create digital stories around athletes. And we picked athletes that were going to be in the main TV moments that we had already bought in the media. So for the Winter Classic, which had the Bruins playing, I think it was Chicago last year, we used Patrice Bergeron and Brandon Saad. So while you're watching it on TV and you're scrolling on your social, following all your favorite players, we're surrounding you with the message on TV and the message in the social. So really make sure that you're amplifying across all digital channels the opportunity that you have. And there's the numbers. So in the last couple of years, 3 now exactly, we've seen amazing increases. And consideration is really the one that I'm the most proud of because consideration is what actually makes you to move and want to work with a company. Now they're really looking for us. And we have seen a huge shift even when I meet with our field force. In the beginning, they were like, well, we have a splintered relationship with their brand from the field. Unlike Northwestern Mutual, we're not proprietary. So we have agents that sell us and they carry our brand. We have agents that co-brand with us, and we have agents that sell our products but don't carry our brand at all. But now they're all coming and they're saying, we want to use this brand, we want to use this story, we want to use this TV. So that was where the consideration numbers really become a point of sale impact. So what can I give you to take away? Other than you really don't always get fired when you make a Super Bowl spot. First, I think is important about rebranding is making an emotional connection. And I think it's so overused today and people hear it talked about so much with brand and purpose and cause. That's not really what I'm talking about here. I'm actually saying You know how the purchase process goes. When you want something, my husband decided the other day that he thinks that our entire front of our house should be covered in white cobwebs and spiderwebs for Halloween, so I was on Amazon. In 2 minutes, it'll be there in 2 days. That's not a purchase decision that you make from an emotional perspective. That's where everybody goes. So if you don't really care about the brand, we're all on Amazon. But if you do care about the brand, you need to have something that relates to people. And why I said we launched. We need to tell people who we are as a company, not right out of the gate what we do. Don't shove product at them. Make that emotional connection. And I think that'll get you further in the long run with people feeling that they want to stay with you. Pay attention to what's happening around you. I say this all the time. We do a lot of work tracking KPIs, tracking cross-media metrics. We have dashboards. We have all the research tactics that everybody in the room uses, and you can analyze anything to death. But if you don't pick up your head and realize what's happening around you, it doesn't have to be a TV spot. It can be anything. It can be a local event. It can be a small group of advocates for your brand. It can be influencers that are buzzing your name. Follow what people are doing around you. And this is how we got into the Super Bowl. And this is how we found a tremendous amount of traction by getting into the Olympics last year. Because everybody was following Shaun White. He'd been in it since 2006, and God knows he was going to finally win. Lindsey Vonn's last year. The American women's hockey team had been battling for 10 years to beat Canada. And then we've got these Shibutani twins on the ice. It's like, who's not watching these stories or following it? So make sure you keep up with where everybody is, and then find the right place. I always joke with my team, you will never see us on running a TV spot on This Is Us. It's way overpriced and everybody's already crying on that spot anyways. But why would we be there versus anybody else? We buy strategies in places where we put ourselves that it makes sense for the brand. We buy a lot of sports. We show up in a lot of sports because they're team-oriented. They rely on each other on the ice, and even if they're not, if it's in something like Wimbledon, which we did really well with this year, again, surrounding the story with some players, female tennis athletes, professional tennis athletes, but they're places where people watch them or they passionately follow them because they have a connection with it. So find the right place and pay attention to where people are around you, and that is a huge opportunity, especially when you're in digital, to show up in a targeted, relevant way by just picking your head up and watching what's going on. Get out of the silos. This is another one that we really struggled with in the beginning, and I think it's the biggest opportunity that you have with digital. Take a piece and then amplify it, surround it, move it. Brand is not just around awareness. Although a lot of people put it at the top of the funnel, I really challenge my team every year to build the strategy down the funnel. And I'm not a D2C product. We're not buying luggage. We can't even really sell it to you directly. But I want to figure out, and you can do this too, how to not just think of it as one message in one place and that's it. Imagine, like most of us probably have, we don't have the amount of money to create one piece that we can't reuse 100 times. So look at it because your customers are across multiple channels. Your customers are in a lot of different places. Build one thing, but make sure you build it, that you can leverage it and put it in the right places across multiple channels. And the last suggestion I have for you is just go big and hold on. When you rebrand, you just have to be willing to sort of go with your gut and know, like I said, the Unsung campaign was amazing, but we were on the road for 12 days between right up to through at the end of just about Thanksgiving weekend. And we're shooting real people and real stories. It's not like a regular thing where we're going out this week to shoot TV for the holiday and I'm looking at props, I'm looking at actors, I'm looking at everything's perfectly staged and scenery. That's not what we had the luxury of doing. We were traveling from Miami to Boca Raton to Texas to this beautiful story about the boy that was bullied in upstate Indiana and what these bikers did for him. And they're real people. And you got to show up on set and figure out how to, and then by the way, we were teaching them how to sing with like 10 cards and music. I mean, you just can get a little bit more of a challenge on that one, but you got to be willing to go with your gut and go big and make a big impact and find a big idea. It doesn't have to be big, huge TV stories either. It can be really creative, smart stories taking over in social and other digital channels. And make sure you stay with it. You moving a brand is not going to happen overnight. And getting people to respond, and don't watch it every day. Manage the metrics that you can track on a different frequency than your day-to-day stuff. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself nuts. But be willing to hold on and convince the people around you and the decision makers who support you that it's not going to happen overnight. They have to give you the time to build it. But when you build it, they will definitely come. Thank you for joining me this morning.